Just throw it. Hi, this is Bill Sutton.
And Jason Sutton.
Welcome to another episode of Sutton Impact Family Style.
First, I want to apologize for last week's audio. It was still listenable, obviously, but it had a weird metronome clicking sound. But we took care of that. Again, apologize. We won't let it happen again. And thank you for your patience.
Awesome. So I'll start talking about my sport business moment. And I spent the day today consulting with the Lakeland Magic, the new G League, Gatorade League team of the Orlando Magic. And it's interesting how we were talking about this team in Lakeland, Florida. And so I was working with the sales guys, and I said, you know what you can tell people in a sales call? You can ask a question. What does Lakeland, Los Angeles, Chicago, Dallas, and New York all have in common?
I have no idea.
They all have G League teams, and so Lakeland will be playing the Knicks and all those, the Knicks, the Lakers, and it's kind of really cool if you think about it like that.
It is very cool.
So it's Lakeland has a history of 80 years of Detroit Tigers for spring training, and Class A baseball with Detroit Tigers, the Flying Tigers. And so it's a market that I think is going to do really well. It's set up that the market understands minor league sport, and they also have a great facility, and it's also about 35 miles from Tampa and about 45 miles from Orlando, so it's in a really good spot. And I think it should be pretty successful. And as I watch this G League develop, the D League started when I was at the NBA in the early 2000s, and the first rendition was all teams in the South, and it failed miserably. And they also hired people that had never worked in sports before, and that was part of the thing that he wanted to do. And so I watched this thing change, and I watched it change where now the NBA teams actually own their own affiliates.
And the two-way contracts.
Two-way contracts, which is great. The Magic have 4 picks in the draft if they keep them all. So conceivably, if you watch the NBA draft and you're in Lakeland, you could see one of those players or 2 of those players or all of those players playing at some point in time in Lakeland next season. So I think they've really gotten the model right. They've got a deal with ESPN, Gatorade, Nike. I mean, it's really come about to a real interesting spot. And I can't help but think if at some point in time the NBA age changes and it is 18, you got probably a better chance of seeing some of these first-round draft picks in the D League, or the G League. I'm sorry, they won't be able because they won't be able to make the team. So I think it's an up-and-coming sports league, and it's going to be really interesting. Now, conversely, remember we talked last week about Ice Cube in his league,
right?
Well, I happened to be in Philadelphia last week, and they're going to be playing in the Wells Fargo Center. And I'm kind of questioning it because I cannot imagine what the Wells Fargo Center will look like with, do I want to be generous and say a couple thousand people? I mean, it doesn't seem like that's a well thought out move to play in a venue like that because you're just not going to draw that many people to see this.
It's hard to imagine you're going to fill it up, but I mean, it is some celebrity.
And Allen Iverson
in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
And he is about as big a Philadelphia celebrity. I mean, he's like Rocky.
So, but even if they get 5,000 for the first game.
Right.
In a 20,000 seat venue. I mean, it seems like there's better places to play. Like maybe you would have played at St. Joe's or the Palestra or Villanova or somewhere.
You kept it really small and tight.
Yeah. So I'm kind of, now I'm not as high on the 3-on-3 league as I was because now, if that's where they're planning on playing, I think that, I don't know what the rent is and everything else, but it seems like that makes it a little bit more risky than I originally thought it was.
I guess they're shooting for the stars and hopefully, obviously literally and figuratively, and hoping that they end up with.
So while I was talking about Philadelphia, Jason, I'll talk about my food moment.
Go food moment early.
Talk about food moment early. So while I was in Philadelphia last week with the Sixers, we went out. I had a dinner with the 12 best salespeople at the Sixers, and the dinner was their reward for being top performers. So we went to a place called Smokin' Betty's, which is like a burger barbecue place.
Okay.
And we ordered a bunch of entrees, and one of the entrees we ordered was a Black Angus cheesesteak egg roll. And I have to tell you, I thought it was one of the best things I've ever eaten. It was amazing. And we ordered another round of it. It was that good. Everybody loved it. It was amazing. So if you're in Philly, Smokin' Betty's, and I think it's on 11th Street, and order the Black Angus cheesesteak
Egg rolls.
egg rolls.
That is interesting.
I know, because it's not something... Cheesesteak, Philadelphia.
Right.
Egg roll. Maybe not. I don't know. It was great,
Maybe
though.
not. No, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I loved it.
And I guess we're still on talking about basketball. We might as well move on to the NBA Finals.
Yes.
Which wrapped up in 5.
And remember, I picked the Cavs.
I think I picked the Warriors in 5.
Yeah, and I picked the Cavs, I think, in 7, and didn't happen to go that way.
No. It just seems to me like watching those 5 games. Obviously, Game 4 was just an anomaly where they set all sorts of crazy records. 50 points in a quarter.
Yeah.
90 points in a half. They 26 threes.
I don't know if anybody could beat them that.
That day they were playing as well as they could. But I know from watching the finals, and pretty much, obviously, their 4-4-4 run up into the finals when they finally lost a game, they just seem head and shoulders above everybody else.
I've never seen so many wide open layups and dunks in a game.
People keep talking about their outside shooting, but it's like their offense is so tight. They get so many, like you said, they get so many layups, so many back cuts. And if they can keep those 4 together, which it looks like they can do for the next 2 years without any problem.
With Kevin Durant saying he's willing to give back money to keep the core of the team together.
And Steph Curry said he'll give a little bit back, which would allow them to keep, an Iguodala who seems like he should be.
For some reason in the finals, he's unbelievable.
Yeah. I think he just saves it up.
Yeah.
But if they can keep him and Livingston, and then they have Patrick McCaw, one of the rookies, played significant minutes. Mm-hmm. And if they pick up, they're always going to get the 1 or 2 David West guys.
Yeah.
The really good veteran who, maybe has a little bit left in the tank and just wants the ring. And it's hard to imagine anybody beating them.
Who would not want to play on that team?
Exactly.
So.
And some other people made some interesting observations about that particular team, and that's that they don't seem to be hated.
No.
I mean, you look at, Kevin Durant obviously took his share of crap, and obviously he's not well liked in Oklahoma City currently. Mm-hmm. But nationally, if you go the NFL with the current dynasty of the Patriots, outside of New England, they're pretty well hated.
Because they cheat.
And they are cheats. Yes, spell a cheat and all that good stuff. The Yankees, the Red Sox, again, those teams, when they're at the top, they're beloved in their cities, and obviously they're fans that have scattered throughout the country, but they're mostly hated. The Miami Heat were pretty hated.
Yeah.
The Lakers were hated. But when you listen to the people talk about the Warriors, people love them. I mean, they're a super team. They're unbeatable. Mm-hmm. And yet people love them. And it's pretty crazy. Which brings us to the next question. If you're the Cleveland Cavaliers, LeBron James technically is only signed up for 1 more year. The LA rumors have already started for next year.
Yeah. And those rumors are going to continue till he signs an extension.
If he signs an extension. Mm-hmm. So the first question is, if you're LeBron, you did go home, and you did bring a championship. Mm-hmm. Can you leave next year? Obviously,
the things that he does in that market, I don't think he leaves again. But on the other hand, I don't think you keep that team together. That the Cavs team, with the exception of LeBron, reminded me of a movie or a TV series.
What show was that?
The Walking Dead. They were horrible, and I did not expect. When I picked the Cavs to win, I was expecting that those guys were going to all play well, and it was going to be really close, competitive games. And really, LeBron, Kyrie, and The Walking Dead is what it was.
Right.
I mean, Tyson Chandler, come on. How many minutes did Tyson Chandler play?
Is he on the team?
Yeah.
Oh.
He played in the last game. It was the only time I saw him.
No, they have, obviously, Kyle Korver ended up being kind of a bust for them. J.R. Smith was pretty terrible. Tristan Thompson.
Except when he hit those shots.
Right.
That 6 or 7 game.
Except for the one game, yeah. But that was the game that whole team looked like they were. Yeah. They had some sort of cheat code from a video game, like it was just. Yeah. And that game was an anomaly in and of itself. Like
totally.
Nobody's gonna play like that. But if you could, some of the rumors right now, if you could flip Kevin Love for Paul George for a year, you'd got to pull the trigger on that trade, right?
I guess you do, yeah.
I mean, at the very least, you get Paul George over in a contract year before he goes to L.A.
Mm-hmm.
And Kevin Love just doesn't seem like he fits on that team. Even when he has his good games, it feels like LeBron and the rest of the team has to work to get him involved. Like, he doesn't feel like he's a natural cog in that wheel. Like, he's a stretch forward that, that really is best with when he has the ball in his hands and he can create. He's a great passer. He's a good rebounder.
Mm-hmm. He's a good shooter.
And on the Cavs, he's not really asked to do most of those things.
Mm.
He's asked to sort of sit in the corner and hit threes. And on defense, he's somewhat of a liability.
And speaking about defensive liabilities, a lot of chatter from Stephen A. Smith about how the Cavs need to pick up Carmelo.
That was the next question: is would you flip Kevin Love for Carmelo? I'm always biased on Carmelo because I think back to the Syracuse run in the NCAA tournament. That was one of the single best college basketball performances by an athlete I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I know he had help on that team, but he was just incredible.
And since that time, he decided he doesn't like to play defense.
No, but I kind of wonder with all the crap that he's taken, especially with the Phil Jackson just riding him relentlessly. Mm-hmm. And then you watch how well he plays with good players in the Olympics.
Yeah.
Which is but it is the Americans still in the Olympics. We still have, way more talent than everybody else.
Yeah.
You kind of got to wonder if he has, maybe one real Carmelo run with him. Because I have to admit, in those finals, I know he would have done a lot more than Kevin Love. I don't know what he does all year long, because obviously he doesn't play defense, but,
Interesting, Jace.
But at the same time, he's one of the best one-on-one scorers in basketball, and you already have two of those guys. And you're not going to outscore the Warriors.
I think what I would say is if Carmelo went to the Cavs, and I don't like him as a player, but I think he'd be a different player because I think LeBron, just like Jordan, would keep him in line and get what he wanted out of him. And
right.
you play LeBron's way or you wouldn't play.
And maybe he has a Shaq going to Miami moment where he hits the gym a little bit harder and he comes back looking like a meaner, leaner Carmelo for a year.
Yeah.
Because again, like you said, mentally, I feel like he's, as much as he loves the city of New York, I think with Phil Jackson and that organization, he's somewhat checked out.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think, to his credit, he still put up the numbers he's put up. So our last topic is the next time we talk, I think the draft will have taken place. Where does our good friend Lonzo Ball go? Lonzo Ball.
Lonzo Ball, I'm going to go on a limb here and say the Lakers don't take him at 2.
That all the buzz about Josh Jackson is real and they love him?
I don't know if they love him. I just don't think that that whole organization is sold on Lonzo. That's what I think it is.
Now, did you see the commercial?
Yeah.
I would say this. I thought it was obviously the stuff he said was funny.
Yep.
But he was, to me, I like that he and his father were willing to do that for their brand or whatever you want to call it. But I thought he was the least charismatic of all those players in the commercial.
Totally. He's not charismatic at all.
Not charismatic at all. Jonathan Isaacs, Darren Fox, all those guys seemed like they were very comfortable talking and they had a lightness to them. And he was saying the lines and and I'm not saying it's nervous, but again, it's like, is this the guy you want leading your team? And again, if you're the Lakers, you've got Russell, who obviously has been maybe a little bit of a disappointment. It's hard to say with these guys when they come out and they're 18, 19 years old. But he and Russell don't make a good backcourt together.
Probably not.
So can you flip him for something else? So you're saying no to the Lakers, huh?
I'm saying no. I'm saying he doesn't go at 2 to the Lakers. But I've been wrong all month. But I really believe this. I don't think he goes.
I know. It's one of those ones where, from an excitement standpoint, you keep hearing all these crazy rumors where, Philly trades up to 1 with Boston. And Boston drops back to 3 because Boston's fine with any of those 3 players. And they get to pick up Saric or one of these other things. And then you hear about this crazy thing where everybody's moving and pieces are flying. Mm-hmm. But I think if history's told us anything, it's that it's probably just going to be chalk. It's probably going to be Markelle Fultz of the Celtics at 1, Lonzo Ball of the Lakers at 2, and Josh Jackson of the Sixers at 3.
We'll see.
We'll see. You never really know. All right, now I read a story this week about a sport that I typically don't care about, and that's soccer. And I read about, and I want to get his name correctly because I only read it and, it's tough for me. Christian Pulisic, who is it seems like the first time in U.S. history that we have a player that has a chance to be really respected and renowned on the world level.
Okay.
He's 18. He's playing in Germany right now. And when you listen to interviews with some of the Brazilian teams and some of the European teams, some of the top tier teams, they talk about him as a guy that, they think can be one of the stars for the next decade of the world. Not a good United States player.
Right.
Not a Landon Donovan, not one of these guys
player
that we can get excited about, but a global player.
Okay.
So they've been talking about what separates him from, is he just, from the Freddie Adu's and some of these other, the next great American player. And it seems like a lot of what changed with him, I mean, obviously, you start with his parents. They both played college soccer. And when his dad became the head coach of the MLS team in Detroit, he brought in a lot of Brazilians. And he sort of really focused on what made all those world players great players. Okay. And one of the things that they had is futsal, which I'm probably mispronouncing, and I'm sure the soccer people, if we have any listening, will correct us on, and that's fine. But it's basically a form of street soccer with a ball that's not as bouncy and goals that are a lot smaller. So you have to be a lot quicker, a lot more touches with your feet, and a lot more accuracy with your shot. And he said that a lot of the world guys, especially in Brazil and some of the South American countries, that's what they play until they get on a soccer field, which might be years. So it's years of playing sort of street futsal. So Christian grew up playing street futsal with Brazilians and other MLS players. So he's obviously playing with the best players and everything else. Yeah. So it seems like, I mean, obviously, you never want to take anything away from somebody's obviously incredible genetics and DNA and all that sorts of things. But do you think he's an anomaly, or is that something we can replicate?
Well, I mean, I think if he goes out and starts playing on the global stage for the Americans, then somebody will try and emulate it, no question.
Right.
Because then it's proven. But until now, we're just speculating that these people are saying this is what he's going to be, but he isn't that yet.
And how long do you think it'll take? Because I think the one thing most people in America sort of sometimes forget is that we do have the best athletes in the world, but our best athletes do not go play soccer. And it's no offense to the people that are playing soccer currently.
No, not at this time. They have not done that.
No.
And until, and Jason, we always talk, money talks.
Right.
But
the world's soccer players make more. I mean, the top tier
the global
world.
Yeah, but not in the MLS.
Right. And it's still
that's what you're. If you're growing up in the U.S., that's what you're exposed to every day.
Right.
And then you see a guy like the Pirates took this Boz kid from Texas.
The high school kid.
Yeah, high school kid, and he signed for $4.1 million.
And that's baseball, not even alone the NBA or NFL.
Yeah, that's 18-year-old baseball.
Right.
So you see that, you see the NBA draft, you see the NFL draft, you see all these salaries, all these contracts. You don't say to yourself, God, I want to be the best soccer player. I want to get so good I'm going to go global. Well, that's requiring you to do this and then do this. Whereas if you go to the NFL or the NBA, you're just going one step. But to be an American and try to play soccer, it's two steps. You got to be the best soccer player in America and then be wanted somewhere else.
Right. So if he has a global impact, it'll probably still be years before we really see.
Might be in the next 5 years or so. I mean, I would think.
Before the young kids start to want to say, I want to be the next Christian Pulisic.
But, if you start going on the street and see people playing that form of soccer that he played,
right, then
you know that it's being interpreted, this is a good training device and this is what's going to happen.
And people still feel like that, all the concussion issues that they have in the NFL, where kids are moving away from football.
You won't get a concussion hitting a deflated soccer ball.
No, although soccer concussions are far more common than people like to think.
Yeah, I think they are too.
But it looks like parents are obviously pushing the kids more towards soccer too. But
yeah, I mean, if you watch a header on when ESPN shows the highlights, it's a violent move to move your head to hit the ball.
Oh yeah, and that's assuming you hit the ball and not another player's head.
Or both. Which can happen, and then you get a whole other thing. So, all right, so tell our audience they need to monitor this kid, see what happens.
Right. I don't think they need. I mean, it looks like he's getting a lot of national attention, and obviously he's playing really well in the qualifying things. It'll come, obviously when the World Cup comes, and we get to see what can he really do on that stage. Mm-hmm. The other thing I was thinking about this week was our friend Phil Jackson in New York, who seems to just want to just drive the triangle into the ground. And it's one of those things where it's easy to look at and be like, all right, well, the guy has won more championships than just about any coach. Mm-hmm. He won that with the triangle.
Yes.
And at the same time, in those triangles, he had two of the best top 50 players of the world the first time through with Jordan and Pippen, and an amazing supporting cast. And then he had probably the two best players in the world at the time, in Shaq and Kobe, the last time it worked. And all the other times, it hasn't really seemed to work. The free agents, everything I read says they have no intention to go in there. Your best player hates the triangle, skipped out on team meetings. He's hanging out in Latvia, hasn't even talked to the team since he left.
No.
And he's going to be a free agent in 2 years. All the draft picks are saying that, every other team is working them out. When you go to the Knicks, they're giving you a test on the triangle and trying to see if you can operate in the triangle. Now, the one coach who we mentioned earlier in the show, who we both love, respect, and despise at the same time, is obviously Bill Belichick. And the one thing about him and Popovich, probably the two best coaches of the last 20 years, is they seem very flexible. They look at what they have and they try to mold it. And then when things change in the NBA, they mold the change of the NBA. Like Popovich, who used to play the Twin Towers. Now he's playing Kawhi Leonard at the 4, sometimes Kawhi Leonard at the 5, going super small, adjusting to what happens. You look at the Patriots, one of the things that, is the most nerve-wracking thing as a team, as opposing team, is they just have a million formations. And they, whatever they did the first week, if they don't think it's going to work against you, they change it. So is he just, what is he going to, like, how is he still in there? I mean,
Okay, and I told you, we talked before, and I said, I think that Phil's proved that the system works if you have the talent.
Right.
My knock on it is not the triangle. My knock is Phil's work ethic and his commitment. I don't think he's committed to doing it. I think he's taking a paycheck. It's not like when he was in Chicago or LA when he was there all the time and doing what he needed to do.
No.
And now he's just not. He's not in it. And plus, he's not the coach.
He's not the coach, but he's also. You've taken Carmelo Anthony, and he just beats him like a dog every week. Does everything he can to put him down. You've taken your best player and your promise of the future. You finally stopped trading away with draft picks. Stop signing all these old players, and you finally have one of the rising young stars in the NBA. And he seems to really dislike you and your organization right now.
Yeah, but I think what Phil was trying to do there was get him to drop his no trade clause.
Carmelo.
Yeah.
Right. But if you berate a player and talk him down, then what's he going to be worth for trading anyway?
Well, I think people realize he's not good in that system. He doesn't want to play that system.
I suppose.
I think the big thing was getting him to be willing to be traded, and he's not always willing to be traded. He's willing to go somewhere else.
Right.
If it's the right deal. So I think Phil got what he wants. The question is, if he's gone and Phil gets a player he wants, is the triangle effective or not? We don't know that.
No.
I'm going to defend Phil in the triangle. I'm not going to defend Phil's commitment and his work ethic right now.
Okay. We'll move on to happier note because in the NHL, my favorite team, won their second consecutive cup, their fifth cup since 1990. And the person that apparently, definitely Michael Wilbon, but the rest of the world seems to hate, won another Finals Conn Smythe Trophy. And he might win the Hart Trophy this week.
Yeah.
And that's Sidney Crosby. Again, much like LeBron, I feel like a highly criticized player. And people just don't appreciate just how great he is. Now he sort of gets a little bit of both the LeBron hate and the Steph Curry hate.
Yeah, he gets both of them. He gets both kinds.
He gets a lot of that Steph Curry hate where it feels like he never takes any criticism and the league likes him. And as soon as he won the Conn Smythe, even people that probably didn't watch half the Penguins games were quick to point out, well, like, Bettman loves Crosby. Crosby's team loves Crosby.
Yeah.
He led them in goals in the regular season. He's their captain. He's their starter. I mean, it's...
And he attracts a lot of attention and lets other people free up to do the things they want to do.
Exactly. Now, and when you go to play the Penguins, you're like, how do we stop Sidney Crosby?
Did you see a clip of him taking batting practice?
I did.
And he hit the ball over the wall.
Over the wall.
Into the river.
And you see his pitch?
Yeah.
I mean, granted, that pitch was probably like 35 miles an hour, but it had a nice hook on it.
It did have. And I want the Pirates to sign him.
They might need to at this
point. As a
left-handed
hitter. I want the Pirates to sign him, let him go yard.
Now, they don't really do any of those sort of Bill Vecchian just publicity stunt craziness anymore.
No, but I would love to see it happen.
Just even for a game, just bring him as a pinch hitter, sign him a one-day contract.
Absolutely. And I don't care if he strikes out. I would like to see it happen.
I'd watch. And again, if you're a small market team, you're going to get some attention. You're going to sell out that game.
Yeah.
Now, is it just that it makes it seem like you're disrespecting your sport? What is the reason not to do these sort of... Do occasionally, like once a year, do a...
Well, I mean, you can't sign a guy to a one-game contract. I mean, you can't...
Oh, they don't have a...
No.
Okay.
So, I mean, but I'm just wishful thinking. I love to see him play in a game.
Indeed.
Just as a DH or something, pinch hitter.
And as we stick with baseball, once again, Major League Baseball, they're trying to... They said they want to bring in tweets. So they are going to have a players' weekend where the players can wear whichever shoes they want to wear.
Catchers can have special helmets.
Catchers can have special
and
helmets.
You wear your nickname on your back.
And you wear your nickname on your back. How do you feel about that?
Why couldn't they do it now?
Right.
I mean, that's my point. Yeah, why not? Who cares?
I mean, people love the goalie mask in the NHL.
Yeah.
So why don't the catchers have cool masks now?
No reason why they don't.
And again, with your shoes, your cleats.
I mean, I love the Josh Harrison stuff he was doing.
Right.
And I like that stuff. I mean, let him go. Let him go. Why get hung up on something like this?
I don't know.
It's a waste of time. Let them do what they want to do.
It seems simple, but...
It does seem simple.
Because again, as long as there's nothing offensive on the cleats, you get some exciting cleats. You get then you got a player that's excited to have new cleats on every week. He's got to tweet it out. You get a little bit more social media presence.
Yeah, and it's of interest to people. I mean, SportsCenter wouldn't have made the changes they made if they were going to try to go after the same audience.
Oh, I know.
Be entertaining.
And the NBA sort of already embraced the nickname thing. I mean, you got like Nene and Yao. I mean, from time to time, it seems like... I mean, I guess you couldn't put, the Durantula on the back of your uniform, as far as I know. No. Maybe you can.
You can put them back of a warm-up jersey.
Back of a warm-up jersey.
Yeah, why not?
Right. And again, I always feel like there's this weird entity, I guess the owners, that just seem to not, like, with the NFL, like, there's already people like, I can't believe they're going to let them do celebrations this year. Why?
Why not?
Why do you care?
Why do you care? It's not important.
Yeah.
As long as you're not demeaning to somebody else.
Right.
And sexually suggestive, it's good. Let it go.
No. And the demeaning thing, I think it's okay to be in somewhat of a... I don't know. I liked when Terrell stood on the star.
Yeah.
I know that's just... But I feel like that's in the acceptable level of disrespect, if that's a thing. Or a contradiction. I know it's a contradiction to say that in terms of words, but some sort of sporting,
Yes.
A respectable level of disrespect in sports, where
15 yards for exceeding the acceptable level of disrespect.
Yes. Now I sound like I could be an NFL official.
Yes, you do. You know what, though, Jace? This is my favorite. And I know people say, well, the Stanley Cup's over, the NBA Finals are over, everything else. Yes, but this is the week of the College World Series, which is my favorite sporting event I have ever attended. I love the College World Series.
And you've attended many, many sporting events.
I've attended just about everything. But I would love to. I love the College World Series. I love Omaha. I love how the people do it. It's absolutely my favorite sporting event. Now I'm going to go to the Masters next year for the first time, so I'll see if that surpasses. But I love the College World Series.
And you have a pick?
You know what? I'm probably going to go with the favorite. I'm probably going to go with Oregon State. Because if you're playing in that part of the country and you're that good, you're good. And you took out Vanderbilt in 2 games. And Vanderbilt's always good and always has great players. And I just think they're one of those teams that, they play well. They've won national championships before. I think it happened. I mean, the SEC teams have kind of beat themselves up. We'll see.
All right. And before we get out of here, I'll bring back one of our original segments. It's Father's Day weekend. We did our Good Fathers, Bad Fathers last week. But I think my all-time favorite sporting moment is when we went to the Super Bowl together in Tampa. Yes. We watched, not only was it one of the greatest games of all time, but we went down, we ate at the Fred's All-You-Can-Eat buffet.
Yep.
Went to our stands, we were sitting in the end zone, and we got to watch together one of them. I mean, it's a great father-son moment. It was a great sporting moment. We got to watch the James Harrison interception return, which is my favorite football play of all time.
Yeah.
We saw the Santonio Holmes catch.
Yeah. And we saw a great comeback by the Cardinals. I mean, we saw a very competitive game, exciting game.
One of the best Super Bowls of all time, I think.
One of the ones where I was really worried that the Cardinals were going to win.
Because I remember we were sitting in that end zone together, and there's the play right before the drive with Santonio Holmes, where they hit Larry Fitzgerald on a slant, and he turned it upfield and just rode straight into the end zone.
Yep.
And
I was sick at that moment.
And then the kickoff, there was a holding penalty, and they had to go 90 yards in a short amount of time. And it just seemed,
Yeah, that was a great day. That was a great day.
And that's like I said, that's my all-time favorite sports moment. It's also a Father's Day moment. So thank you for that one.
You're welcome. That was a good one. I also liked our trip to Detroit, but the Tampa trip was better.
Right.
Better game.
The trip to Detroit was a very fun game.
Yeah.
It was a crazy travel.
Yeah, this was easy. It was just a drive from Orlando.
And obviously the game was
First class.
just 1,000 times better.
Yeah.
The Detroit game, against Seattle was just not a great football game.
No. But it was the first Super Bowl we went to, though.
It was the first Super Bowl we went to when we got to watch the Steelers win in person.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
And that was the crazy one where we flew into Ohio, rented a car, drove into Detroit.
Yep. Came back, slept in our clothes.
For like an hour.
Back on the plane.
Got back on a plane.
Yeah. But, that was the bus Super Bowl, the Heinz Award Super Bowl.
The Antoine Randall, yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one. But the other thing about it was 80% Steeler fans because nobody wanted to go to Super Bowl in Detroit.
No. Yeah, as we were walking through the fake, NFL Village.
Yeah.
And all the parking, it was just all Pittsburgh.
I still remember we pulled into town. We saw the guy run down the street with a deer head on a stick. And I said, yep, we're Pittsburgh.
And the weather's pretty similar too, so it was just like being back in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it was nasty weather. Ugh.
All right, so again, please subscribe on iTunes. If you want to rate us on iTunes, that's even better. It doesn't take that long. You just click on 5 stars, hopefully.
Yeah.
We'll take 4.
Happy Father's Day to everyone.
And support us on Patreon, which we already, again, thank you to the people that were patient with our sound issues last week. We won't have those again. And just go to patreon.com and find Sutton Impact Family Style and join our family. So until next week, we're out.